Okay, so I'm going to show you how we do our seed starting mix and the process. Make sure to stick around to the end because I've got a really fun tip that makes a great way to keep the temperature up and keep your humidity high, and that really helps with the seeds germinating well. So anyways, stick around to the end and I'll show you what I've learned as kind of a neat trick to do that without having to have a seed starting heat mat or other expensive equipment that you have to pay for. So anyways, stick around. Okay, we are going to start our seed starting process. I'm mostly going to start with just my tomatoes and peppers for right now. It's good for them to get started nice and early in the season. I'll keep them indoors until it gets warm enough outside that I can keep them in the greenhouse, and then I'll slowly transition them out to the greenhouse to harden them off and things like that. I'll show you that process. That's something really important that I didn't do my first few years gardening, and I paid for it with dead plants. So anyways, I'll show you what we're doing. As you can see, I've got some soil in here. These are little chunks that I popped out of the seed trays from a couple years ago that I had planted some asparagus seeds and never planted them out. So I'm going to go ahead and just wet this up, kind of recondition it, and use it for our seed starting for this year. So I'll show you what I'm doing. I've got some hot water here, and I'll add hot water to this soil. Really what I'm trying to do is get it moist enough that it'll hold some good moisture and be good for seed starting. As dry as this stuff is from sitting for a couple of years, it's going to take a fair amount of water, but I'm just going to do a little bit ahead of time. And really what I'm doing is working that water into the soil. And then I don't want it over wet, but I want it moist enough that if I squeeze it, it'll clump together. You can see that it's just falling out of my hands. So it's very, very dry. I need to add quite a bit more water. You might notice my little tarp underneath. I just cut apart a rabbit feed bag. That'll work as a nice tarp for my workstation so I don't get Kelsey's laundry table all dirty. So that's what that is. When I'm done, I'll just roll it up and throw it away. Alright, it's starting to accept this water pretty nicely. I think I'm still going to need more though. That spot has too much. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just wringing water out of it. That's too much. So then I need to mix it up with some of these drier sections. So another kind of side benefit to mixing this with warm water is it's just a little bit of extra heat to kind of jumpstart that germination process. So we've got kind of the consistency I want now. It's holding together kind of in that ball shape, and it's not oozing water out either. So that's right where we want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and start filling some of these up. Okay, now that I've got soil in the little seed trays, I'm gonna get my seeds out and kind of ready. Like I said, I'm doing peppers and tomatoes today. You might remember I've got these for my seed storage. This is basically a photo protector. It comes in a whole case of all my different seeds. My wife got me this, I think from Michael's, or I'm sure you can get them on Amazon or different places like that too. So if you haven't seen the video that we did on how we store our seeds over the course of the year, check that out. This is a nice way to keep the seeds dry and keep them safe during the year while we're not using them. So anyways, I'll get those out and we'll get organized here and get some labels ready so that I make sure I can label what we're growing in which one. That's important just so I don't mix up what variety of tomatoes or those kind of things. I like to keep them straight. So So I've got these kind of laid out how I'm going to plant them. Sorry, I'm so shaky. These ones that I've got 2 on. I don't want as many of the mini sweet bell peppers or as many of the beef steaks as some of the others, so I'm going to split that tray in half. I want more of the Berkeley tie-dye tomatoes because I think those are fun. And so I'm going to have a whole one of those. I'm going to have a whole one of the California Wonder Pepper, Yellow Monster Sweet Bell Pepper, Orange King Sweet Bell Pepper, large cherry tomato, jalapeno, and Romas. Okay, so we've got them all labeled, and now I'm going to go ahead and start getting them planted. All I do for this part is I use a stick, and I'm just going to dimple each spot just with just a small dimple, and then we'll cover that with dirt. We don't need to go very deep because these are small seeds, so they don't need to be buried very deep. So we're just doing that little dimple, and we'll drop the seed in and cover it up. Make sure I plant the right things according to the right label. Okay, all done getting the seeds planted and covered with a little bit of soil. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on some little covers that we've got on these, and I'll show you our trick for keeping them warm and nice and humid, and that'll help with the germination process. So we get a really good germination rate out of doing it this way. It's nothing to do with this quite yet. I'll show you the trick in a minute here, but we've had really good success with this with our tomatoes and peppers over the years. This is more just so I can stack these a little bit here in a minute. Okay, so here's the trick. I learned this from my father-in-law. He did this and taught me how to do this, and it has really worked well for us over the years. So I've got this styrofoam cooler. My father-in-law used to pick these up. He worked at the hospital, and they'd get shipments of different things in these, and then they'd just throw them away. So anyways, he'd bring them home, and that's where I got this one. And we'll go ahead and plant stuff in here. But the real secret, I'm gonna take this and fill it with hot water, as hot as I can get it. Then I'll put that in here, and then stack these seeds in here. And that hot water will raise the temperature to, 80, 90 degrees. That'll last a day or so, and every day or two I'll dump this out and put in new hot water, as hot as I can get it. Put it in here, put the lid on, and that'll keep it nice and warm and humid in here. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I should clarify with the water that I put in here, I did just get it as hot as I could get it out of the sink. I didn't boil the water or anything like that. And that'll keep it nice and warm, and even once that cools off, it'll still keep it above or about room temperature, which is still a nice comfortable temperature for germination. So I'm getting these put in here, and then we'll get it all sealed up. That one I'm going to take the lid off. Okay, I've got them all stacked in there and ready to go. I'll put the lid on here in just a minute. I will say, make sure you check these every couple of days, and especially after it's been 4 or 5 days, you probably want to check them every day, because once they start to sprout and germinate, you want to get them out of here and into some sunlight or a grow light or something. Otherwise they'll get leggy and skinny and won't be very strong and healthy. So you do it this way, you need to make sure to check it often, just because you want to make sure that you're getting them out into the sunlight as soon as they need it.